Well, so yeah. Could you imagine the other thing I was like, you imagine if you, like, what are there, 100 and what? 160 something. If you listen to all of them in a loop, the amount of times that I contradict myself on the air, like, you know, think about all the times, like 150 shows ago that I was just ripping on Granlund, saying they need to get rid of him, and calling double. Oh, she's back. What?
I shouldn't say this.
Oh no! Maybe
here
you
we
definitely
go.
shouldn't say this.
Fire away,
no,
Barbara.
I mean, that's what you do.
Yes.
I do.
I really shouldn't say this, but...
Right.
Those are the
And
best
then
parts
you
of the
say
show.
it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of stuff that I shouldn't say on here.
Yeah, you ever do live television?
No, I know.
No. You can't say, can you take that out?
Yeah.
Can you roll that back?
Well, you know, you never really know what's going to work in the media world. And I remember we sat down to do one of our first podcasts, and we started talking, and I asked Michael a question. And during his answer, which took about 12 minutes, he changed his facial expression about 6 times, and he started an argument with himself. And I thought, this is going to work.
Yeah.
I can just ask Michael a question. I can leave the room, and he'll hold the entire conversation by himself.
Remember our early podcast when we go to that, like, home in South Minneapolis, and it was like,
Yes.
it was weird.
That was weird.
A home?
Yeah,
Just
it
a
was like
random
a-
home?
Well, I started doing podcasts for another company, and they had a little place for us to
Yeah.
go do them. Like
They essentially bought a house for the podcast.
They rented a house so they could have an office, basically. So we'd go do there, and I don't work for those people anymore. That's why I started my own deal.
Yeah. I remember we were like walking down the block one day by the X, and you told me you were going to start this, and I was like, yeah, all right. And now you've run like 2,000 podcasts. It's crazy. Thank God for Brandon. Can you imagine if you had to do this?
No, I can't. Well, we wouldn't do it. I mean,
Yeah.
we would talk to each other, and it
Yeah.
wouldn't be published. So
I
it wouldn't really
always-
work out very well.
I always say Brandon's got to be the like, this guy has listened to every one of these podcasts. I mean, that is just torture.
Yeah, but we have a great psychiatric care package for our employees, so it works out fine.
You're adding short and long-term
Yes.
disability.
You know, before...
Is that in your benefits?
When you talk about having maybe some psychiatric help, my friend Chris, who's going to be the soon proud owner of David the Stick, he needs our help because he's still very sad that Coach Q has been let go in Chicago.
I know.
So he would like a moment of silence.
Yeah, it's going to help somebody
It's
else.
not going to
I'll tell
happen
you
here
that.
in Minnesota, Chris. Sorry, but
Yeah.
I do love Coach Q.
Yeah.
And I think it's been a long time since there's been a coach that's been fired that the resounding
What
words
are they
afterwards
thinking?
were like, "Oh my gosh, really?"
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, you know, the old adage forever was, well, Scotty Bowman's been fired, so, you know, blah blah blah, and the, you know,
That's true.
or Wayne Gretzky's been traded, and I'm not exactly sure actually if Scotty was, but regardless, it's like, you know, it's now Coach Q. You know, this guy, he's been, you know, guy's won 3 cups since 2010, and that just shows you anybody could be fired. So,
Sorry, Chris.
yeah. What? Nah, I don't think so. Yeah.
The question was whether Michael's going to St. Louis.
No, whether Mike Yo is.
Oh,
she was
I
asking
misheard.
at Clintonville. See, there's a perfect contradiction. I think on the last podcast we talked about him maybe going to St. Louis. Yeah. So, great podcast.
It was disjointed and weird as usual, but that's
Yeah.
kind of what we do.
It definitely started. The first half I felt started kind of weird.
Well, I think we were overwhelmed by the presence of your mother, the presence of Don Mitchell, hockey stick. We just had a lot
Joe
going
Christensen.
on. Joe Christensen. We were just a
Scott
little,
the Pilot.
We're intimidated by our surroundings, but we got over it.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good show. I think next one we're going to do November 30th. Is that what we're planning?
Next live show we're planning, we need to clear it with Delano's, but they've been really great to work with. I'm sure it won't be a problem. Tentatively, 6 p.m., November 30th, right here at this space. We appreciate everybody who shows up, everybody listens. Again, the listenership has gone through the roof across the network, and especially on this show. Thanks to everybody who's made that possible. Thanks to all of our sponsors, including Mr. Hedges, who's here tonight. Anybody have a final thought? Don, Michael, or should we just call it? I think we've done enough damage. Thanks again, and please give Michael a round of applause. And Don Mitchell, please give Don Mitchell a round of applause as well.
Pretty little city built on a hillside. Music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice. And I used to call it home. So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world won't forgive a winner.
The other day in St. Louis, I was using a Q-tip, and I'm just like, on my phone, and next thing I pull the Q-tip out, cotton swab gone.